Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Tom. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hello, friends.
Just Tom and I tonight. We had to skinny down the group just to make sure we could really pack in all that hot Thondia action.
We wanted to dial things down.
That's right. No, we're taking them up, Tom. Up. It's the other direction. It's bestial. That's what it is.
Nah.
Tom and I are going to lock ourselves in a titanic duel of legendary beasts on the plane of Thondia to discuss this new supplement. That's the topic tonight. But of course, first, the news. What do we got?
So let's talk about that rumor engine. Yeah.
I have never seen a rumor engine answered more quickly. All right?
Well, that's not true. Like, we've had some that have been, like, hyper answered.
This was answered the same day, Tom.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's some that have come out that we literally already knew what
Sure.
the thing was.
Fair. I'm just saying, this went up, and then they put up a picture, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So this is obviously a Daughter of Cain model from Harrow Deep from Underworlds. And the reason I say that is because our next piece of news, like, I'm not even going to tarry on this, because the next piece of news
is the Harrow Deep stuff.
Is the Harrow Deep stuff. And
yeah.
in the picture, we have our original Stormcast, who, were in this season, right?
Yep.
Being attacked by two figures, one of which is a Skaven, Eshin type Night Runner, Gutter Runner, Assassin fellow. Fantastic. I've long said we're going to get a Skaven warband as part of this, obvi, because we had that one rumor engine that was like very obviously a Skaven on a pipe.
And we know that we're not going to get an update to the line this summer, so
I remain with my fingers crossed, hoping and praying, but living in the reality that we probably won't. But, I'm just saying, hey, look.
I mean, let's be honest. We're probably not. We can hope.
I will hope until I hope forever.
That's fine.
Hey, look, if we get it, no one's going to be happier than me. We know that.
That's
I'm just
true.
Assuming I live in the worst of all possible worlds.
I mean, if that happens, here's the reality. We end up having to do a Skaven warband for Havoc this fall.
Yeah, sure. It's great. But anyways,
because you'll be on Skaven Train 7.
100%, yes. Like, there will be nothing else in my life. But anyways, also in this picture is a Daughter of Cain. So, like, clearly we're just introducing the next two warbands in this one picture. And so it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was a weird picture, right?
Yeah. But, I mean, it's just like, hey, new Skaven and new daughters. So, for Underworlds, and it's like, all right, cool, good stuff.
What else did you see in that art piece?
I didn't notice anything else. Like, I looked at the rat and stopped. I didn't even notice the witch elf for a while. I'll be honest with you, Tom.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's in, like, an Escher world where the same lantern girl is upside down. Is that what you're asking me about?
Well, just the little alien, like, headless, upside down Supra monsters. Mind flayers or whatever they are, like up in the top of the picture. Like, obviously that's not a warband, but tell me more.
I think it's just weird art for Harrow Deep, man. I wouldn't read any more into it. But I mean, with the doc book coming, I assume this warband would be in the doc book. So whenever we get the doc book, this would be revealed anyway. So, like, whether the warband comes first or the book comes first or they come at the same time, who knows, right?
Certainly.
Yeah. So I was happy to see this. It gave me confirmation that we're going to get we'll at least get a partial resculpt of the worst models in the Eshin line, which is the Night Runners and Gutter Runners and stuff.
I mean,
because there will be at least one new one.
It's long desired. Well, if, like, somebody is aggressive, they can go buy up all of the old Death Runners from Silver Tower, right? Sure. And do a bunch of conversions from them, and then a bunch of these war bands. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be great.
Yeah. So anyways, there you go. That's the Harrow Deep thing and what it gave us. And I'm excited. And yes, obviously that's what the rumor engine is. So, yeah. Cool. Neat. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting.
I I have it in the news, Tom, to talk about the Kharadron Overlord's Tome Celestial update this week.
You mean the new War Scroll?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, effectively, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
also did get your standard grand strategies and battle tactics that shouldn't exist.
Which are fine. Like, there's some of them that are either way too easy or just you're never going to do it, and that's fine.
Sure.
And, like, there's
wonderful
like,
controversy about what on the battlefield versus garrisoned in a ship means.
Yep,
I don't want to get into that, but like clearly that's all a rules mess and a nightmare of trying to interpret what that exactly means. But the important part is because there's a new Admiral scroll.
Yeah, well, and it raised the concern, right, of like, wait a minute, now we need to go revisit garrisoning, because technically are everybody that's garrisoned on the battlefield or not? Because it says they're in the thing they're garrisoning, they're inside of it.
Yes.
And it is on the battlefield. So, like, a transitive proproperty, are they also?
Right.
Like, yeah, it's a mess. So, anyways, but the War
stupid rules mess. Because they said you remove the unit from the battlefield, but they count as being inside the model. Right?
So it's truly a Schrodinger's box, Schrodinger's cat situation. It's both there and not there, indeed.
Yeah, which is nonsense, because if they would have if they would have simply said you remove the models from the battlefield, there wouldn't be a confusion. Wouldn't be any confusion, because that's what they're trying to say. Clearly, what they were trying to say, at least how I read it, is
the unit is still on the battlefield. The models are not.
Right, exactly. Pick up your models because they're in the. Don't try to pile them on the building like a jerk, right? Like, just pick them up, put them to the side. They're in there now. It's an abstraction. We all understand, but no. Now we had to get this wacky reading of the rules.
Yep.
Okay. So, anyways, tell us about the new Admiral, Tom.
So, I mean, he's great for what he does. I think KO is still super matchup dependent. So the good news is this. So the big deal with the Admiral is that he gets a number of ammunitions. He gets to choose one of the 3 once per game to deploy. And so it's kind of like a number of the once per game abilities that we've seen trotted out on all the different things.
Sure.
Although the wording is clear enough that like you can have multiple admirals and trigger multiple abilities.
Yeah, so, this one doesn't have like the Achillean.
This one doesn't have the Achillean King problem or the Forge, or the Forge Father. No, the Rune Father problem.
There you go.
From Fire Slayers. I know I was going to get there. So, I mean, what I would say is that he has a neat ability, which is essentially like, hey, ignore all-out defense once per game, because it just increases the rend of a shooting unit of a non-ship shooting unit once per game during one shooting phase, increases the rend by 1, which is nice.
It's an incredibly good ability, and I think you're undercounting it by saying ignore all-out defense. The point of shooting is that you can't all-out defense against it very efficiently, because you could take your ship. Sure. Shoot first, target some unit, they're going to respond by all-out defensing.
And then you dump everything.
Pop the rend into this other thing, and now that command ability's not there anymore.
Certainly. Yeah. Like, there's a bunch of reactive kind of fun plays that can be used. So that's good. The other one that really caught my attention was the within 12 inches, you target a unit, and it loses its ward save.
Yeah.
For that phase, that shooting phase. And the most significant thing about this is that it's targeting an enemy unit.
Right.
And there's no keywords associated with it. So, yet again, we have Cities of Sigmar coming out on top because they can include an Admiral, and like he can pop an enemy unit and increase like Iron Drake shooting. Right? Sure. And make it so that Iron Drake shooting no longer has ward saves against it.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'd be modeling up an Admiral to join my Tempest Eye fleet right now, buddy. Yeah.
Right? Like that dude just kind of runs forward. He's like, pew pew. Sure. Yeah, totally. So, I mean, what I'll say is that, like, I was already including one Admiral in my list. Like, he did lose his immune to battle shock in a 12-inch radius passive, which was, like, a big deal to me, because, like, that's one of the reasons why I ran him. That said, most of the Skyports have anti-battle shock abilities baked in, and this is a low model count army most of the time, so that generally didn't matter a whole lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think overall it's a strong change, and it would probably bump me from running one Admiral to possibly 2.
Sure.
So I mean, it is a nice change. Is it a like a Pangea fix all for the faction? No.
No.
Like it's not a I don't want to say this. It is not a Beastmen buff.
No, it's not Beastman. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But the Admiral change was welcome. I do think he had some interesting utility, and that's cool.
Certainly.
So
Yeah.
good. Like I like when they take a model like that and make him an interesting utility part of the army. So that was a positive change. Not as good as we hoped, but also not as bad as some. There was real utility added to the army through what this change was. So good. Like,
oh, by the way, let me just say, I was thinking about a different art piece than this community piece, this Underworld.
Yeah, I know.
There's another art piece. Yeah, there's another one that they released.
Yeah, so. I gotcha. All right, cool. There is an explanation for what those things are. Some people said it in the chat. I'm not paying any attention to Underworld's lore. I'm sorry. I refuse. I barely want to learn normal game lore. Well, I'm certainly not learning.
So you know what it means, though, right? That is our next edition. Is Ulgu.
Oh, is when we go to Ulgu eventually? I mean, it's not coming now, but you don't.
No, I agree. But you got to remember, Beastgrave, right? Was our preparation, was tilling the ground for going to Ghur.
Yeah.
And like we had that like significantly early before this edition.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, realistically, you've got a new edition coming in what, 2024? So it's not that far away.
Totally. Ghur. Ulgu is coming. Maybe those dark elves in the starter kit.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Yeah, that's when we'll get the Malarian faction in the fourth
a decade after AOS initially launched. Think about that. Think about whatever. That.
I just thought it's exciting that they included the Tome Celestial for Kharadron Overlords, along with the announcement that later this year they'll be making a bunch of new Kharadron Overlords figs that they've mislabeled as 40k figures. But that's all right. Everybody's Arco just got a sweet upgrade. Let me just say that them little dudes that they previewed are going to be everybody's Arco come for full or whatever that the squats release.
Well, okay. Or they'll be Thunderers because they'll probably be on 32 mil bases, not 25s like Arco.
A fair point. All right, let's move to some pick of the week. So, Tom, what would you like to share with everybody?
So our friend of the show, buddy 2+ Tough, did just released a review today on a look at the Thondia Stronghold box. And we're actually talking about the campaign, so this is kind of a supplemental topic to what we're doing today. We'll talk about it a little bit, but I just want to spruik that video. I always love Doug's treatment of things. Nice, even-handed engagement, excitement. And honestly, like, in all fairness, the box is a bad deal financially, but I am in. Like, I just love it. I don't know why. There's something about, I mean, I'm going to use the model, right? Sure. Like, I love the little ghost. My new Night Haunt model is what that is.
Sure.
But an addition to my army. But I don't know. I just love the box. Like, it's just, like, I like the terrain pieces. The boards, like, 2 of those boards are the perfect size for Path to Glory.
Sure.
And so like that box is like a Path to Glory starter kit. And we'll talk about that tonight when we talk about the Anvil, because I'll be connecting that to some of the stuff that I'm doing locally. So
gotcha. My choice is our good friend, our good buddy, Mr. Mephisto, who did a wonderful interview discussion rantcast with Ziggy from of the Stats Center. This is just a good discussion about data and why and how and all of that kind of thing. So if you're curious, we've used the Stats Center and Ziggy and Rob's data many times, and so they're absolute heroes for putting all that data together. So it was just a cool chance to let Ziggy talk about why and what the purpose is. So check it out. Both of those will be linked down below. All right, cool beans. Fast and fancy free, Tom.
Always.
We're gonna be moving quickly here. Let's talk about some hobby time.
I run a tight ship around here.
We're gonna make Tyler cry. Tom, what's on your table?
I am doing. This is going to be really hilarious, considering we just talked about White Dwarf updates. I am doing a commission of corn for a friend.
Okay.
And a nice classic red treatment of corn, gold trim. It's great. You'll probably see it on your table sometime, Vince.
Fantastic.
And um,
I assume those Wrathmongers are going to be behind snakes.
of course, that commission has already been done.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, what I'll say is that I like the corn models. Like,
Right.
I haven't painted up a bunch of them, and I just really enjoy them. Like, the musculature is fantastic, and yeah, so I'm just enjoying painting some models. And then my son's working on a Flesh Eater Courts army, and so I got all that built and painted, or I got all that built, and we got it all based, and we got an airbrush primed, and then did our first like base coat glaze, and so yeah. So I'm doing a semi-quick army, for him as well. So
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, Wrathmongers are pretty cool, fun to paint. Actually, a lot of the corn models. Just the worst ones are the Blood Warriors, because they're like 8 million miles of trim around the armor that they have. They're the worst part. Like the Blood Reavers, fun. Wrathmongers, fun. It's the Blood Warriors that are the nightmare. But fortunately, they've basically never been good. So guess you don't have to paint them. That's nice. They've always been like the worst thing in the army.
Right,
so.
right. I haven't painted those, so that's encouraging.
Yeah.
I love the Wrathmongers, and I don't know. The other thing we can do, obviously, is if Skaven don't happen, maybe it's a all corn army this fall.
I'll just be painted dogs forever.
We could do. There it is. I have it. You go corn dogs.
Yeah.
I'll go direwolves, and we'll just be the doggos army. Just all the doggos.
As I
all
said,
dogs go to
all dogs go to hell. Yeah, all dogs go to hell. That would be the name of the army. Yes, it's very easy. That's a slam dunk. That one writes itself. It's super easy.
With Granny and just all the dogs.
Yeah. It's not going to happen, but it's funny. Okay.
I mean, wouldn't it be? That'd be amazing.
It would be very funny. We would need to build our display board would need to be some form of giant doghouse.
Or a kennel.
Yeah. I'm glad we added this extra discussion onto Hobby Time because, as usual, I am painting a bunch of stuff still that I cannot talk about. So stay tuned, I guess, for next month when I can talk about this stuff. So there you go. Okay. With that, let's leave Hobby Time behind. And let's move into our main subject tonight, which is Thondia. The first in what is assumingly many seasons of war. So, yeah.
I mean, it's on the spine, right? So, thus, it has to be.
Yes,
we will see multiple releases of whatever this is.
Yes, we will. This isn't just the one season of war. They didn't use the word season, of which there are multiple and changing to imply this is the one shot across the bow.
So, a brief kind of glimpse in the future. I would expect that we see one of these every year.
At minimum.
Do you think we'll get a box, like a table box with terrain every year?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that because I think that all that is just an easy package product line, right? Which is book associated terrain launch box, because it's a table in a box functionally. Because I talked about having the 2 boards that get included. You notice that they also release another board set that pairs with those 2 in the box set with the same terrain type. And so functionally you're getting, if you buy the box and you buy the $60 board expansion, you get an entire table of boards.
Yeah. All right. So before we're going to talk mainly about the book, but I want to get into the box.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So yes, we're getting more seasons of war. I don't think that's anything surprising. Okay. I would assume these are at least once a year, if not more. Yep. But I want to talk about the box of terrain. $220 US. Right? Is its price?
Yep.
Retail comes with basically. I mean, sure. But I'm always going to quote retail price, right?
Yep.
Comes with the associated terrain, the various and sundry terrain, and then comes with the incarnate fellow, who is quite big. He's on 130 mil base, so he's a larger fellow.
Yeah,
we'll look at him.
He's a Nagash-esque model.
Yeah, he's not that big, but sure.
I mean, Nagash only on.
He's not as tall. They're both on the same base, but he's not as tall. Okay. So
Do you know what the miss is?
Give
I
me.
think I know.
Yeah,
I think I know what the miss is.
You go. I'll wait. You go.
Okay. I think it's a stunning terrain set. I think Anthony in the chat called out like he thinks that people underestimate how much terrain costs, and he's right. A normal terrain piece, if you were to buy it, even in GW's cheap heyday, it was $50 a piece, and so 4 pieces would be $200, and you're getting way more than that in this box. And you're getting another model that's playable. But to me, the real miss here is that the book should be in the box. If the book was in the box, this entire conversation would be moot. And I think that they would sell quadruple the number of boxes that they will end up selling. If
they did that, the book would only be in the box, and that would be worse.
No, I don't think so. Because you think that the model will only be in that box, or do you think that they will launch the model separately in 2 months?
Eventually. Okay, here's my problem with this release strategy.
Sure.
I don't like it. I'll come straight out and say it. Okay, I don't like it. The appropriate sort of launch package here should have been terrain and the book in a box, book by itself, incarnate by itself. Those should be 3 products on offer. No incarnate in the terrain box.
You don't think the incarnate should have ever been in the terrain box?
No.
See, my pushback would be, I think it should be all of it in a box, bundled together, and then the book separate and the incarnate separate.
That'd be fine. I would
that's in my mind, that would have been the perfect release, and I would have bought that box, no questions asked. Now I'm going to buy it and feel a little bit guilty about spending the money.
Yeah, my issue is just the box plus the book. It's not a small investment, man.
You're right. No, I agree.
And the reality is most people just want probably the book and the incarnate guy.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so will they probably have the incarnate eventually separate?
Yep.
Probably. Okay, but I don't know when that could be. It could be a long time, right? As sometimes it is. And I just don't love at all that the only way at this model that is usable for every army is to buy a $220 box. That's just silly. Now, whether or not you're actually going to use them in every army, that's highly suspect, as we'll discuss. Okay.
Yep.
But I don't like that I cannot get him separate. It really bothers me to no end. When they release a new model, he's not terrain, he's a model.
Okay? Oh, I know. I am aware.
He has points.
He's a ghosty boy.
He's a model.
He's a ghosty boy. Yep.
Those should be available. I already hate the trapping special heroes into dual boxes, right? Yep. But at least then you're getting more of the army that you're ostensibly playing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I got my, I play Daughters of Cain. I want new whippy sister hero lady, right? Yep. Sure, I get some more daughters that I can theoretically use.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Not the best rollout strategy, but at least it's stuff I probably can use for my army.
Sure.
Here, there's no guarantee you need that terrain or you want that terrain.
No.
And this is the problem, right? So I think, to me, the box is actually a thorn in the paw of an otherwise fantastic release. Because, I'll just jump right to my summary. I really like this book.
The book is great.
This is absolutely a tale of two cities right here. Okay? I think the book is exactly how these books should be done, with one minor sort of issue that I have that I'll raise later on.
Sure.
It's the incarnate, by the way.
Well, I disagree. I quite like the incarnate.
No, we'll talk about what my issue is.
Sure.
But to me, the summary here is that terrain box is marring an otherwise fantastic launch to what these seasons are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I want cool narrative story that's accessible in a lot of ways without feeling like if you're trying to be a competitive player, you suddenly have to learn a bunch of new rules every time one of these things comes out to keep pace. And they did a fantastic job with the narrative offerings in here. There's like 3 solid sections of great narrative offerings. Okay. And and the match play rules are really smart. I really like how they did them because they sequestered them into a battle pack. We'll talk about that, what that means. But it was brilliant to do so. Okay. And it's great. This is the narrative book I wanted. I have basically no complaints. It's a fantastic book. It's totally worth it. This is the kind of stuff they should be making. And then they put out the box set, where it's the only place I can get little dragon swirl and...
Well, I mean, that's not true. Like, we will get him alone, probably as a web exclusive sale.
You know what? How we're going to get him? I'm going to take 130 mil base, okay? And I'm going to take some dragon head bit.
No, there's already a 3D sculpt of this. Stop. There's already a 3D sculpt of this.
That still involves more work than I want. I'm going to take 130 mil base. I'm going to take some extra terrain pieces I've got. I'm going to put them scattered on there and put the dragon head floating above them. Done and dusted. There's my incarnate. Got him.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like, you could make a really easy one by just taking a spirit host and then, like, putting the skull on top of the spirit host bodies. Sure. You know, so it's like the wispy things. Like, you could, if you wanted to do a pure GW conversion, and it would be super easy. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't disagree with that.
And that's what they're going to make everybody do, is proxy this thing, 3D print this thing, you know, basically create alternative versions of this thing, because you printed a $220 model. It's just crazy. Yeah. Right? Like, I mean, and that's the problem. By the way, sitting alongside a fantastic book.
Yeah, the book's wonderful. Love the book. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the book. We'll talk about that. Because that's the bright side. Is there anything I missed in my summary here for you?
No. As somebody pointed out, like the Kron spine or whatever, like the skeleton stuff, is like Krondus's dragon head. Like whatever it is, like it's like poor guy. He met his end
or whatever, you know.
Right, they did. Right, yeah. So one of the remnants of Krondus's brother is buried there in that box. So. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So enough whinging about the box, which again.
Hey, I'm not whinging. I'm buying it. Buy.
I understand. And that's fine. I'm not telling people not to. Like, if you want all the terrain and find value in that, then great. Then it's a purchase for you. Well, right? It's not like the terrain is bad in some way or I don't find it useful. Sure. Like, I like it all fine. Okay,
well,
its functionality on the table is sometimes suspect, but it's fine terrain.
I'm launching a seasonal, or I'm doing we're doing a local thing with me and some of my friends, and we're doing a Path to Glory, and so like literally it is a Path to Glory, like a club Path to Glory kit in a box, right? Mm-hmm. Because it has a consistent board with terrain that's relevant, and where it's going to be set in the Thondia using that battle pack, and we're going to use the Anvil of Apotheosis. And anyways, so like in that sense, to me, it's great because it brings everything together in a single purchase and then just sets that aside. Yeah. And like it's thematically consistent and stuff like that. So
Manzak said, go buy a snake skeleton toy. Yep, perfect. Just twist that bad boy around. Done and dusted. Okay. All right, let's get into the individual rules. So we're going to start right away with the Incarnate, because this book is divided into this sort of core rule concept, which is stuff that you use all over the place in kind of all appropriate subtypes of game, and then open narrative and the match play stuff. we're not going to talk about the open play stuff tonight. I'm sorry, it's fine. Like, if it's a thing that you like, that's cool. I don't have any opinion on it. I've never played that thing in my life, so I have no intelligent commentary to offer. But it's there. It looks like there's fun stuff if that's what you're doing. So, cool beans. But we are going to talk about everything else. Okay. Incarnates. Well, first of all, the fact that we got a page of rules here with a header called Incarnates tells me that we're getting more of these bad boys. So strap in. This is just the first one of theoretically many. This is a new thing now. As a matter of fact, Tom, I'm going to show you at the end what the second one is. I'm going to actually show you the second Incarnate at the end of this presentation.
I accept.
Okay. By the way, this is something not in my prezzo, but my favorite section of this book by far is the monster bestiary section that just talks about
where they talk about all the local like flora and fauna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super cool. So
it's super classy.
Like, just to give everybody an idea here.
It reminded me of the End Times where they would talk about like the named units and have like the sketch drawings of those named units.
Like, the art is super classic, and there's just a whole bunch of... There's, like, a bunch of neat monsters that aren't in the game. Like, the Thondian Flathorn, right? Just really cool art.
Well,
fun, like,
some of them are.
Yeah, I understand.
Like,
they're not...
especially, like, the flora, one of the things that's fascinating about it is, like, those plants and stuff like that are the terrain that's specific. Yes. You know, those are terrain,
like this stuff. Like the Itcher Moss and the Growl Oaks and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
But this section is just so cool. Like, I love stuff like this. I really do. I don't know. Yeah, like it as a D&D player of more than 30 years, like that kind of stuff, that bestiary was it tickled me pink. Like, I really dug that section of the book. So anyways, agreed. That's the kind of stuff they put in there that I really, really like. So listen, GW, if you're going to keep doing stuff like this, please keep those sections in there. Love them. Yes, A+ work. Keep up with the cool art, the cool descriptions, expanding the world, giving us more flavor of the setting. Great.
Yeah.
That's lore I can get into. Okay, back to our Incarnate friends here. Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Can you hear that rain?
Oh, that was thunder, I assume, was what that noise was.
Yeah. It's miraculous. Sorry.
No, fine, just barely. Like, it honestly just barely came through. Like, it was only when it kind of peaked. Yeah. At any rate, all right, I'm not going to read everything on this page, and that leads me to my first point. These have too many rules. Just too many. Sure. These have too many rules. End of story. Okay? Mm-hmm. I refuse to accept this is the first draft. This needed a pass.
Yep. And you'd look at it and go, okay, cut half of this and come back.
Cut half of this out. Yeah, correct. Like, we don't need all of this.
I know your design principles.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like, there's just too much. Bonding. All right, so the Incarnate has to be bonded to a hero. Bonding an Incarnate to a hero is a unique enhancement. All right, well, that's things I need to know how that works, what that means.
Right.
Okay. What that effectively means is you can't give it to, like, Marathi or somebody like that.
Right.
Record which hero the Incarnate is bonded to on your roster. A hero cannot be bonded to more than one Incarnate. An Incarnate cannot be bonded to more than one hero. You can't include any other allied units as soon as you take an Incarnate at all. But this one Incarnate can be your allies even if those points are exceeded. So enjoy a 1,000-point game with your 400-point Incarnate going buck wild on your enemy. That's fun. Okay. I don't know why there was the need for that particular rule-breaking exception, but fine.
Because they were trying to harken back to how Gotrek was treated. Like, that's what they're trying to do with that.
Yeah, I understand, and I don't like that either. So, good stuff.
Sure.
If the hero is slain, then the thing reverts back to its wild form, which means you still control it, but it can also attack you, so it can go ham on your own troops, depending on what's there. The Incarnate has states, effectively these different levels on a chart where it goes from like 3 to 2 to 1 to 0. It starts at 2 and then goes up or down.
It has Planeswalker loyalty.
It's a Planeswalker loyalty. Exactly. Thank you. That is, when I was explaining this to somebody else who played Magic, which, by the way, Magic reference, suck it. So there we go.
You're welcome, audience.
Yeah. First thing I said was they have Planeswalker loyalty. It's the best way to explain it. Okay. It's just capped. Unlike most
Planeswalker it's Planeswalker loyalty on a combination between a Croak and Marathi mechanism.
Yeah. So then they don't actually have wounds, even though they're a creature. Instead, they all get this weird Croak-like system where, exactly, they're like, if you took Croak and Marathi and you put them together in that, like, Facebook scam, what do your kids look like thing that's like a data harvesting scam, you know?
Yep.
What would come out would be an incarnate. Okay, because...
it'd be like, ooh, spooky.
When they...
it won't come out as an incarnate playing Magic together.
Right. Because effectively, not to dance around this too much, like I will say what the rules are for everybody and not just be a sarcastic jerk. Mm-hmm. You allocate wounds to them in the same way. They have an armor save. You fight them like normal. Your troops walk up and stab them with pointy sticks and such. Yeah. But instead of resolving wounds on them, like you keep track of the damage they suffer, and then in the battle shock phase, you roll 3d6. And if the roll is less than or equal to the number of wounds allocated to the incarnate, its level is reduced by 1. So you're trying to roll more on your 3d6 than the wounds suffered. Like,
you're generally trying to put about at least 10 wounds on them to pretty consistently
11 technically if you want it to break slightly over 50%. But yes.
Sure.
And then its level is reduced by 1, and then all those wounds go away.
Yep.
So unless you pull sneaky deaky tricks, like you wound it like with 11 wounds and hit it with an auto slay effect, because in the case of auto slay effects, they just lose a level. Mm-hmm. So you could stack both of those and make it die in a single turn.
If you're sneaky.
Sneaky. But realistically, it's mini Marathi. It automatically lasts at least 2 turns. It can't be killed in a single turn regardless of damage. Like it can take 4 million damage in combat, and then at the end of that, it's just going to tick down a level. And then all that damage goes away. Right?
Yep. And it's still going to grind on the thing that it's up against.
Right. Exactly. So that's how its damage works. I would have completely thrown all of that right in the bin. The incarnate states and the damage, those are all gone. In the bin, wounds characteristic, done. We've got a mechanism for this. It's called wounds. Well, we didn't need this extra, like, Mordheim, are you knocked out of action resolution mechanism to see whether the wound resolved.
I hear that. I like that it's not wounds, first of all. I like that it's unique. It feels different, right? Mm-hmm. What I could have done without is any reference at all to endless spells.
Sure.
Like, if you took this thing and just cut out every reference to endless spells, I would be content.
That's fine.
Like, it's all just a trap. Like, all the endless spell stuff is a trap. Ignore it. Stop.
It absolutely is. Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to the rules.
Yeah.
So our first one here, which is the Kronspine Incarnate of Ghur, our little dragon mountain boy.
Yep.
Bob Chase is correct because it says right here, an army that includes an incarnate cannot include any other allied units. So meaning if when we get multiple incarnates, the second you put one in, you can't include the second. You use all your points up. So if they put out like 100-point incarnate, that is all of your allied units, including other incarnates, regardless of what your normal cap is.
Yep.
Okay. All right. This guy's 400 points. He is single. He is unique. He is a behemoth. He is a monster, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I love that. I love being like giving monsters to armies that don't have them.
Sure. So here we go. Here's our actual guy. Here's our incarnate of Ghur. 12-inch move, 10 bravery, 4 save. 4+ save. We got a new little wounds radial because we don't have any wounds on it, or a new radial, I guess.
Yep.
All right. I'm not going to read all the rules on this guy straight out. Instead, I'm going to ask you at the top, what is your opinion of this dude overall?
Fine.
We talked during the live show at Adepticon that the problem with making a unit for literally every army in the game is that you have to walk an extremely fine line.
Yeah.
Because if it's even slightly too good, it shows up in every army in the game the next day.
Yeah.
And if it's too bad, no one plays it and no one is interested in all the work that you did.
I mean, so here's the deal. I don't think that this army is... I don't think that he is too strong for his 400-point package, right?
Did we hit the middle bowl of porridge here?
I mean, I want to play with him. I want to get him on the table and have him run in, like a Night Hunt army, right? Because like that's an army that doesn't have a viable monster.
Yep.
And I want to get some mileage on him, which I haven't had the opportunity to yet. But I look at this in like a Fire Slayer army, and I'm like, I think I'd probably rather run a Magmadroth.
Sure.
Like a Rune Father who's like 360. And that feels like that's the right answer, right? Like,
sure.
If you have an in-faction monster that's just cheaper than 400, it should be powered around that, and then you get the faction synergy bonuses. So it feels like that's the right kind of offensive punch, which is what this guy has.
Sure.
So I'm content with where he's at. Let me say that.
Sure. I think this guy is actually probably the middle bowl of porridge to slightly strong.
You think he's slightly strong?
Slightly. Yeah. He's no joke. This thing does quite a bit for his points value. I don't disagree at all with Gareth, who says this is actually quite a strong answer to something like dragons.
Right, because dragons can't pick it up.
Right, they can't pick him up. Exactly.
Now the dragons
and he
can
can actually
level
like mad off of them.
Now the dragons can't, or the dragons can pick up whatever is controlling him. Like
sure,
that's a
but
real
he
thing.
can be that thing could be quite burrowed or protected or whatever potentially, right? Well, the trick is he can't die to them in a single alpha strike, but he can level like crazy off of them.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Because he can just go ham on them and start leveling like crazy. That's like his loyalty counter goes through the roof.
He's like, "What? I'm empowered. What?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the actual sitch here on this dude.
Yep.
In his base form, his attacks are 8 vicious claw attacks. I know it says 6 there,
but that's not true.
But it's not true because you add his table level to those. And so I'm just going to say what he is when you put him on the table, which is 8 attacks on 3s, neg 2 damage, and 3 attacks on 3s, 2s, neg 3, 4 damage. Quite a powerful profile. Like, nothing to mess around with.
Yep. He has punch, and that's what you want, right? You want something that's going to stay, and that has punch. That is a real threat for 400. That's what he does.
Yeah. So, he's decent. And then let's talk about kind of because he's also a bit of a buff wagon. He's not like a pure buff wagon, but he is a monster buff wagon. Like that is definitely what he is.
Yes.
Okay. So, what does this guy do? All right. Well, his bonding. Okay.
Yep.
He can only receive commands by the hero he is bonded to. So if you want him to all-out attack, you got to have that hero.
You bond him to a totem. You bond him to a totem who can hit across the table.
A totem or somebody who's got an 18-inch range, like your general or somebody like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Because then he has a much longer range. But if the all-out attack command is received by this incarnate, the command is also received by all friendly units that are wholly within domination range, which is 10 inches. Again, if we're just talking like him out flat on the table, right? So basically, everybody wholly within 10 inches also gets all-out attack as long as they're within 3 inches of an enemy unit and they have not yet received a command in that phase. So he lets you stack out all-out attack, which is cool.
+1 to hit. I like +1 to hit.
Sure, it's good.
You know what I also like? Rerolling charges.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't jump ahead in the assignment, Tom. Okay.
See, that's called a segue. That's professional work, Tyler. Let me show you how this is done.
But we're not to that part yet. But sure. You also get to add 1 to casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for a wizard that is within domination range of an incarnate they are bonded to. So if you bond this guy to a wizard, he's an easy +1 to cast,
cast
for them, as well as unbind and all that, which is good. It's a good bonus. I like +1 to cast and stuff is real good. I don't think that's controversial. All right. So good buffs. I mean, what's your feeling overall on just those buffs, on the bonding buffs, Tom? Do
so
you
you're
like
telling
the all-out
me
attack thing?
I pay 400 points for a free radius of all-out attack on a profile that can do some work.
Sure.
And if I choose to attach this guy to a wizard, I get +1 to all of my casting related things on that wizard. Yeah, I'm in.
Yep. So I think it's a good ability. I don't hate it. Yeah. All right. Fine. Empowerment. If he slays a monster, then his incarnate level goes up by 1. I should state that. I didn't say I wouldn't read all this text. I'm going to read all this text. I said I won't read it all right away. I wanted to start with summary. That if he slays multiple monsters, he can jump multiple levels, assuming he hasn't reached his cap. So if somebody knocks him down to 1 and he kills 2 monsters, say like a unit of 2 dragons, he can jump himself back up. Nope. By the way, this guy's average damage on scroll, like just straight on scroll, okay, with no modifiers or buffs or anything like that, against a 4-up save is 12.59, against a 3-up save is 10.3.
Sounds like he's lifting a dragon every combat.
Yeah, I mean he's it's not bad. Now, if he himself does get that all-out attack, okay, if you're able to give him the all-out attack, his damage jumps to 15.8 against a 4-up save and 12.9 against a 3-up save. So, good damage.
I'm in.
Certainly better than my 420-point Keeper of Secrets. By a long shot, and she doesn't have anywhere near this utility.
Another way to make Slaanesh great.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that, because we're going to talk about what armies these go in.
Yep.
Okay, if he goes wild form, okay, so wild form is when your bonded hero dies. Yeah? Okay. You add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this incarnate while it's in its wild form. The incarnate can run and still charge in the same turn while it's in its wild form. If this incarnate is in its wild form and is within 12 inches of a unit or an endless spell at the start of your charge phase, it must attempt to charge, and you must make a charge move if it is possible for it to do so. Now, even when it goes wild, you still control its movement. So,
so you can shoot him out. Yeah.
This is what a couple people in the chat mentioned, but I wanted to save the discussion for here. If you just propel this idiot into the enemy lines or kill your own hero and let him go wild, through like sacrificing your own hero to any of a multitudinous ways you could try to get your own hero killed.
Yep.
You attach him to some 4-wound goblin and then roll an endless spell over him or something.
Run across deadly terrain.
Yeah, then you can just shoot him across the board to where he will charge them, your enemy, and then he'll just be amongst them with +1 to hit.
Right.
And like fighting them for the rest of the game.
Yep.
And
until he dies, but yes.
Until he dies, yes. He just ends up being like this snake, just loose in their lines, going wild, like just this crazy rattlesnake, right? So there is actually play to like not caring if your attached hero dies, to like bonding him to a hero you think will probably die, especially one who might be serving like a once a game purpose, and then dying. So you mentioned a totem, okay? Yeah. So like the Knight Vexilor with the Meteoric Standard is a totem, and has a great once a game ability to do a big mortal wound bomb. So you just kind of like can run that idiot forward,
and you're like,
after he
suck on this, and he goes and like
yeah.
holds a unit on his 3-up save, and if they kill him, it's just bad for them.
It's exactly, yeah. So I mean, like there are funny things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'd attach him to like the Fireslayer Battlesmith, and it's like, oh, you want to get rid of that Battlesmith buff, huh? Enjoy.
Sure. So, anyways, there's play with actually allowing your bonded guy to die, and even if he does, it's not like suddenly this thing is tearing through your army by necessity. That's not actually what happens. Okay. Inflamed Savagery. So this is his other interesting ability.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, all units wholly within his domination range, which again, remember, base is 10 inches around him on 130 mil base. So it's a big space. It's a big area.
Yeah.
The unit's commanding player can reroll run rolls and charge rolls, so that's just you. All units cannot retreat, including yours and your enemies.
Yep.
And if the unit's a wizard that is not bonded, it's -1 to casting, unbinding, and dispelling your non-bonded wizards and their wizards.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So a little bit of give and take there on that one. Obviously,
not really,
making the enemy not be able to retreat is quite good. But if you're wanting to really benefit from the all-out attack spreading, it does mean that your other units are not retreating either.
Well, it really does, like, force decisions, because as soon as he gets stuck in with that, it's gonna raise problems for everybody.
Sure.
Especially if he's not easily lifted.
Well, and my point is there, you've got to think about exactly how you're trying to use him.
Yeah.
In your particular army.
Certainly.
Because, like, do you care that none of your people can retreat? You know, like, did you want to be in there with a slam bam force just wrecking face? So you weren't retreating anyways. It was never going to be part of your plan. You just want a bunch of free all-out attack.
Yep.
Right? Or like, does he need to be alone because retreating needs to remain an option on your table? Right? I mean, if you're like a Daughters of Cain player and for some reason you decided this was a good idea to put in your army, and you got a bunch of Sisters of Slaughter hanging out, assuming they keep their retreat and charge thing in their new book, like, boy, is that a whiff. Or their 6-inch pylon, sorry. So it's not, it's super retreat and charge.
Yeah.
So the point is they can't retreat.
Or zombies.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Like, just, you got to be aware of who this guy is standing next to. But it is cool that you can get that, the reroll runs and reroll charges is also really,
Man,
really
how
good
good of an answer is this to zombies now that I think about it? Just jam this down like a zombie's horde's throat and be like, suck it.
Oh, sure. Just let him go, like, straight buck wild on him.
Yeah, and then, like, they're not going to lift him from mortal wounds, right?
Sure.
Like, and they can grind for a while.
Well, he'll never level on them, and they'll kill him in 2 turns.
Sure.
And he won't kill them first.
No, I'm not saying he will. But, like, you could put him in and then finally, like, come in with some other stuff if you want, or use him to hold them to get around all the soft stuff behind.
Sure. On average, he'll deal about 18 damage if he's in his buffed state of anyway to the zombies. So...
Yeah, I'm not saying he is not solving that problem.
Sure.
But he is holding it. He's delaying the...
Like, they can't one-round him like they can most things.
Right.
Sure. Right. Fair enough. And then finally, Arcane Predator. In your charge phase, if this incarnate is within 12 inches of an endless spell that was summoned by an enemy wizard, it can attempt to charge, and it can make a charge move as long as that charge move finishes within a half-inch of an enemy model or endless spell that was summoned by an enemy wizard. In addition, he can do his Devour Endless Spell thing, which you will never do for so many reasons. This is a bad monstrous rampage. It's very bad. Bad rampage. Bad. It is bad because, 1, there are no endless spells that people play, so who cares?
Hey. Terminexus is amazing right now.
Yeah,
the new book hasn't dropped yet, so it could be hot road trash when the new book comes out. But
and 2, because you have to roll a flat 2d6 against trying to basically beat the CV of the summon for the endless spell, and if you beat it, you eat the spell, it's dispelled, and you gain a level, which is cool. But if you fail it, which is very statistically likely, by the by, for most endless spells, like way too likely, you lose a level, which is bad. Super bad, because then something that's fighting him can come kill him immediately that round.
Not something it's too much gambling.
It's way too much gambling.
It's like just straight gambling. Again, delete all the endless spell stuff. You're fine. Go on.
Yeah, it's like with a lot of endless spells, you're at like a 40 or 50% chance every time you roll those dice to lose a level, which means he can then die in one round. Like, it's just, there's no way that's worth it in any way, shape, or form. Just
like,
go
it's
kill
only
monsters.
worth it if you have to make it, like, if you have to make the thing go away.
Right, if it's like, oh, it's killing your whole army, blah, 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 blah. There's some corner case, I'm sure. I'm not going to say it's 0% of the time worth it, but I am going to say it's like 1% of the time worth it.
Sure. I don't disagree with that.
So, yeah. So the that's just a bad monstrous rampage. Yeah, cool. But he's a monster, so he can do other monstrous rampages too. It doesn't say he can't. It just says he may choose to do this one. So, cool. Yes, I'm sorry. You do get his level to the dispel, so a +1 or +2. It's still not enough. I'm still not risking that roll. But yes, thank you for confirming. Or I did leave that out, Swaggy.
Yeah.
I'm still not making that roll.
Yeah, like as Alex first said, like options are good. It's always good to have that option, but we're doing Stomper Roar or Titanic Duel. Like that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So that's this dude. Okay. I think he's medium to strong, maybe slightly concerning, but I think he's okay. Here's my question for you.
Yep.
What armies, as they exist now in the current world, should be thinking about this guy? Whom is including this in their list? I have a couple of answers.
Night Haunt.
Sure. The lack of a monster, suddenly being able to have a monster. Okay.
Yep. And aesthetically, he fits perfectly. He's a ghost.
He is. He is, in fact, a spirity thing. Yes. I'm not going to give you ghost. He is a spirity thing.
He's a ghost. He's a ghosty boy with a skull.
I don't know that he was alive, which is what I see. Like, ghosts are remnants of something that was in that form alive.
No, it was a dragon.
This.
It is literally a dragon.
He was.
It is a reanimated dragon.
He's not a reanimated dragon.
If you look at the actual image, it just all that. Those aren't rocks. It's paint. That's bone.
I understand. He's an incarnate. Whatever. We're not getting into this. He's a spirit. Okay. So who's your picks? Night Haunt. Fair. Okay.
Yep. Jose said OBR.
I like this in OBR.
Say what?
I don't hate this in OBR.
Right. I could do. I don't hate this in Khorne.
Okay. What's it doing in Khorne?
I like the bonuses to hit. Like as an army wide, like they are already like you want to be spending most of your rerolls in Khorne, right? Or like your command abilities on your bonuses to hit, or not bonuses to hit, on like bonus attacks. Like there's tons of bonus attack command abilities and stuff like that.
Sure.
And so all out assault is one of those that's going to often fall by, like when you look at the economy of command abilities that are being used, all out assault is falling by the wayside in that arc.
Okay.
And so getting a generic +1 to hit, functionally is helpful.
Okay.
I
have two answers for you here. Non-Be'lakor Slaanesh.
Non-Be'lakor Slaanesh. Okay.
Correct.
I like that one. Yep.
Like, I don't... Which, by the way, I think Be'lakor is still probably a better answer in sort of all things being equal. But that being said, I don't think this guy's a bad alternative depending on the particular build or what's going on.
Sure.
I think certain Gits armies... and keep in mind, like, one of the, you're the Gits and Slaanesh, you do have casters that could benefit from the bond and get the +1 to cast.
Certainly,
that can be valuable.
Certainly.
Is there stuff you'd probably want to cast? Oftentimes that have casting values that are, slightly too high.
Yep.
So +1 can make a difference. I mean, we're naming a lot of just bad armies right now, effectively, like the people who are at the low end of the totem pole.
Yep.
And I don't think that's wrong. Like, that's the summary statement. I think most of the powerhouse armies probably have better options hiding in their book.
Yeah, like, so here's a funny one that I don't hate. which is Lumineth.
Okay.
Because Lumineth is often, like, your alternative is taking cows.
Sure.
Which are way slower. Just way slower than him. And he's going to, like, you have no anvils in Lumineth, other than, like, warded blocks.
Which are a decent anvil.
Which are a decent anvil. But what I would say is that I think he provides a really interesting pairing there, and he's bringing a +1 cast, which you have a lot of wizards that you can bond him to. Like, I think about bonding him to, like, the Horsey Lord, right? Mm-hmm. Who's already, like, a fairly tough hero. If you don't want that to die, another bonus to make the buff that you're spreading more reliable, right? And so, like, I don't think that Lumineth is a knockout, but I think it's actually a really interesting tool in Lumineth's toolbox of already too many tools.
Isn't the problem there him giving neg 1 to cast to all your other units? Like, you'd have to place him really carefully.
Yeah.
Like, because your whole army is wizards. I'm not saying you couldn't do the setup. Like, he would kind of need to be over to the side.
Okay, so let's throw a scenario out here. Forth. So you have him near the your wardens and sentinels with your Horsey Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. They are, and it's units within 10 inches, not wholly within. Right? Or is it wholly within?
For what? For
the penalty.
Wholly within. You can control this by tailing a single guy out.
Then you know what? That is a non-issue. I have 32 mil bases.
Sure.
Wholly within 10 inches. You could just tail
one guy from each unit out of his Dominion domination.
That is
and then they don't
imminently solvable on a 10 inch.
I think that's right. With Lumineth, it might actually be a challenge because I think it's in Lumineth, I'm pretty sure the rule is if the unit has X number of models or more, then the champion becomes a wizard effectively. So
yes, and then you just put the champion on the outside of the unit, and the champion is never wholly with it. That said, but even if he was, okay, penalties, they suck, right? But your Horsey Lord, like, again, he's your reliability buff. He's the more reliable bonus that's going to be able to spread the more mortals on 5+ to everybody that needs it anyway.
Sure.
So, like, there are certain areas of the battlefield you can put him near and it'll be fine.
I could see it if you're sort of anchoring a side with him. Basically what Alex just said, which is Techless on anchoring one side and sort of this guy on the other. Sure.
Right.
And then you manipulate the wholly within domination range to kind of make the right things happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, that doesn't seem problematic to me, and it seems like a really interesting solution.
No, to answer Blood, no, he does not have to be near the bonded hero. So, I mean, you may want him to be because you
can't issue commands
and you might want him to be able to issue commands and all that kind of stuff, or to be able to issue commands to him. So, like, there's sort of a soft incentive to keep him near the hero, but there's no hard rule to it.
Yeah, again, I don't think he's not like the answer to Lumineth, but I think he's a really interesting tool that I think people, if they play with it, they'll actually find some interesting utility there. But I think, again, stuff like not Fire Slayers, stuff like Night Haunt would be a great use for him. You know, another one would be really interesting? KO.
Sure.
Because KO doesn't have any, like, anvils.
Yeah, they have no anvils and they have no monsters. Yeah.
Right. And so he does all the things.
Sure.
And you never have the command points to do all-out assault because you're doing other things normally, like your all-out assault and defense and stuff like that in other phases. And so, like, having that kind of free when melee is engaged is not a terrible thing.
Sure.
Now, you have to be careful on how his no retreat works with... We need a clarification on the fly high, because I think technically the fly high counts as a retreat.
Sure.
And so you'd have to be careful with that, how that gets deployed.
Yeah. So the point is, I think there is some armies that will, like, I think we will see this guy on the table. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. I think we've given at least a case for some armies. Joel Graham said you can do a really gross empty throne Varangard list with this guy in Bellicor. Disgusting. I want nothing to do with that. That sounds hideous and awful, but I believe it.
I think FEC would actually be a really interesting combo with him.
Okay.
Because FEC doesn't have anvils. Everything's 5-up save. Like, everything's just terrible.
Sure.
And they just have bodies. And so he hands out some really interesting bonuses. He gives you a monster that can't be lifted quickly. Where, like, the Terrorgeist, they're good-ish, but they can always be picked up. Where this guy can't. They have enough casters that you really, like, some of their spells you really want to get off. I think the Arch Regents, D3 attacks.
Sure.
The Terrorgeist, like the Flappy, the 5-up word save. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think we're going to see this guy get played around with in armies. I think he will tend to... The sort of obvious use for him is to bolster the weaker armies, as we've mentioned in a lot of these examples.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, like... I don't know. That's why I say he might be a bit too strong, is my honest answer.
Because he's good for the weak armies?
No, because I'm afraid that I'm not seeing how he can actually be used with the strong armies as well, and we'll end up tilting a little too close to this guy shows up way too often.
Well, you're just saying, like, in the Empty Throne, Bellicor, him.
There's a couple other examples, but yes. Like, I don't know. I don't know in the end. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'm saying that if the perfect number was 5 on the scale for where he should have been.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, just to pick a thing, like 1 through 10, right?
Yep.
My sneaky suspicion is he's like a 6 or a 7 who might trend a little higher when put into the right combinations.
You know, this is something I was thinking about, actually, as you've been talking about it. There's a sense in which... So, like, the answer right now, we've kind of talked about this, is like more hammers is generally better, right?
Yeah, yes.
And a lot of armies can field like a double threat, for sure. Sometimes a triple threat. And what this guy is he's a mini Marathi.
Sure.
For 400 points. And so, like, when I think about it on the whole, like, I don't know if we need more unkillable anvils that do damage.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Like, and so, like, in a world where you're already running 3 hammers, let's do 4 hammers with a hammer anvil comp. Like, that may be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about ADP in a future show, actual damage potential, and like why the damage right now in the game seems so much higher, even though it's probably actually not.
Sure.
But yes, this guy certainly will contribute to that sort of thing.
Indeed.
And I agree with Assistant Ref that this is a very dangerous archetype, right? Which is the archetype here is very hard to kill strong hammer with utility for the rest of the things around him. That's kind of banging on all cylinders. All right. Realm rules. I'm not going to go a huge amount into this, but I wanted to kind of touch on it a little bit. Because what's actually happening here with these realm rules is, for the most part, this is taking all of our current battle pack rules that's in the General's Handbook for Ghur and saying this is part of this now. Like, if you're playing in Ghur, these are simply the realm rules. And so, like, Metamorphosis and Feral Roar and, including the Incarnates.
It took the General's Handbook season.
Yes.
And bundled it and said, oh, by the way, this is the Region of War Thondia bundle. And so, arguably, that may be setting it aside to prepare for a different bundle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Andrew, I'd have to go back and see if that was my exact opinion. I don't think that was my exact opinion, but okay. At any rate. Yeah, it adds this extra layer on it of, like, monstrous denizens that'll probably never get used. So... whatever, you just like pick a random monster and then people get priority of him and stuff. Like, it's cute. It's a thing that'll probably never get used, but
It's like literally a rule out of Steve's tables.
sure, it's like great for a sort of narrative game.
Yeah,
It's weird sitting as a core rule. It felt like this should have been in the narrative rules because it makes.
Well, the argument is that this is the narrative rules, but yes.
I mean, you're right, but it's above that. Technically, this is supposed to be the stuff in effect everywhere, including the match play rules, and I don't know about that. I do like the additional mysterious terrain, which is where this is the stuff that you mentioned that we got in the bestiary. Some of the things like Itcher Moss and the barbed snifferweed spheres, which, by the way, the barbed snifferweed spheres are super cool. I read their story. It's an awesome piece of art. They're horrifying. It's really neat. Anyways, so
I like compelling weird stuff.
I like new mysterious terrain. I like this. This is fine. This is cool. Good.
Yeah.
Like this is like if I were to be playing in Ghur and I'm gonna run the Ghur battle pack, this is the kind of thing, even in a sort of match play setting, running the Ghur battle pack that I think would be fun to use. So
right, and like I know we've banged on this drum before, but how amazing would it be if we just got like a seasonal war for like one for each realm?
Yeah, sure.
Like these bundled, collected rules for like functionally like this is our Ghur battle pack, this is our Akshi battle pack, this is our Shamo.
Which is the right way to go. So I like this. I don't actually hate that it can also direct you back to the core table, so those things are still there. It's not totally different. It still there's still mysterious and deadly stuff around. Yes, I know, assistant ref, you don't like it that you have to have both tables, but like, okay. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I still like having the option of some of those in there. I actually liked when we had sort of 12 options, and I like all of these. They're fun. They're neat. They feel flavorful.
To GW for keeping the secondary businesses in that are producing terrain dice in business.
Sure.
By giving them more products to produce.
I don't think anyone's producing products for this one, Tom, but I appreciate the idea. But yeah, I like these mysterious terrain rules. I think they're good. I think they're cool. That's the kind of thing I like to see. The let's put an extra monster of indeterminate value of any type on the table and then randomly roll for who gets to control this 800-point monstrosity I just put around.
I mean, it's going to be like spiders, like a Ragnaroks, or
what should have been done is they should have said, yes, pick a monster that's, like a monster that isn't amount of 250 points or less or something like that, right? Or here's even better, roll a d6 on this pre-curated list. That's the monster.
Yeah, it's a Ragnaroks and cockatrices and
a chimera and a gorgon.
Yeah. All of those. Like that would all just be perfect.
Yep. That would all be fine. I would be A+ on that. That's how that should have been implemented. So the Monsters Denizen is the only thing that out of this whole thing. Otherwise, it's just the Ghur battle pack out of GHB effectively being put into a more evergreen form, so you can keep utilizing it to play in Thondia in Ghur if you want to.
Certainly,
we'll see that again later. All right, I didn't want to. I'm going to sort of touch on a few of the narrative things here. Okay. We're not going to deep dive into all of this to stay within our wheelhouse. But sure. I did want to talk about them some because I was pretty impressed by all this. So there is a Path to Glory battle pack in here. If you're into Path to Glory, I actually quite like a lot of the stuff that's in here for playing a Path to Glory campaign in Ghur in Thondia. You mentioned this, Tom. Are you going to be using this combination, this narrative stuff in your local game?
I'm going to use that. We're going to do a free for your general. It's going to be the lowest, like the champion level Anvil of Apotheosis hero. So you're going to craft your own hero, and he'll be able to be included in our games at every level. So whether we play like a 500-point game or a 1,500-point game or whatever, through Path to Glory, like you'll always be able to have him there, and he'll be like your warlord that's leveling up. So you'll have your named guy, that'll be like custom to your army, and then we'll do the additional Path to Glory rules with it as well. Yeah. And so we're all going to like kind of paint those up and. We got like an IDK army, a Flesh Eater Courts army. I think I'm going to do Fire Slayers. So I'm going to finish, like my Fire Slayers have been on a really weird journey. Like I got them mostly finished last spring and then just stopped, and they're not dead. Sure. And so I need to finish the army, and I have a lot of stuff that's like partially done, and so I'm going to use this as kind of the impetus to finish those, and we have a Sylvaneth army, so yeah, it'll be fun.
Nice. Yeah, if you're into Path to Glory, this does have a like huge amount of good Thondia focused content for you, including like 6 new Path to Glory battle plans, special rules, new veteran abilities, cool quests to do. Like, it's got everything you would expect. If you're rolling Path to Glory, this will deliver for you for playing your Ghur based Path to Glory Thondia based games. Like, no doubt about it. It does it well. So new territory specific to this, all of that, new scouting expeditions, the whole deal. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about that. I'm not a Path to Glory expert, but if Paul Wagner approves it and says it's good, then I trust him. Okay. The Anvil of Apotheosis, you already mentioned it. We bring back the Anvil, clearly seated in the narrative section. Love the Anvil of Apotheosis. So glad to have it come back in a new form. This is obviously the Anvil of Apotheosis. It's the Anvil Ghur, and but it's pretty much what you would expect.
The AOA.
Yes, there you go. Yes. So you mentioned you're using this. Were you happy with this implementation of the of the Anvil of Apotheosis?
Yeah, I mean, there's still some small corner cases that are weird. Like, yes, I choose Dwarf Kharadron Overlords, but I'm not a Skyfarer. So none of my guys, they always have to be on foot, right? So a bunch of weird kind of corner cases like that. Like, I feel weird not having hand axes being a Fire Slayer hero. Like, everybody has hand axes, and I can't get hand axes. Just a bunch of small things. But all that can be fixed, right? Like, all of that is imminently like resolvable. In general, I like it. It feels about right for what it's doing. Again, at the lower power level, we haven't done any like exhaustive building of like strong stuff, but I enjoyed it. It felt like a good solid foot hero. Obviously, like, some armies are going to get more mileage out of some stuff than others, because like when you're looking at like what to choose, when you go like, oh, like the general leader type wizard priest, I'm like, I'll take priest because I don't get much more, and I'll just take curse. Like,
right.
And I'm playing Fire Slayer, so it's like, yay, like all the prayers now. So I get the option to pile in for free in my hero phase, because he can bring that prayer for himself. So that feels like there's some unbalance in those profiles. Like, I don't ever see an incentive to just do any of them that's like the free all-out assault ability or whatever.
Yeah.
So like that just feels lacking. But other than that, I liked most of what I saw.
Yeah. For the most part, I think it's good. There were some small changes on the nature of kind of how you build and what your options are. For the most part, if you were familiar with the past Anvil of Apotheosis, you will be familiar with this one.
And what this means, by the way, we'll be getting other anvils, because this one is the Anvil of Apotheosis Ghur.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Which is fine. I like the Anvil. I like where it's sitting. I think it's a cool thing. I'm glad it's back in the game in a way. I don't think it needs to be in every one of these books, but I'm glad to see it show up here.
Oh, it definitely will.
Around.
It definitely will. And what this also tells me is that each one of these books will probably be a different realm.
I disagree. That's what I'm saying. No, I think the next book of these will... No, the next one of these will also be Ghur. Yeah. Yeah, but it'll just have different stuff in it for Ghur. Right. Like, that's why they didn't call it Season of War Ghur. They called it Season of War Thondia, a region.
Right, a region.
So that they can do, like, a different region in the future.
I hear that, but, like, yes, but all of these big narrative moves have been centered on certain areas, like the Windswept or the Fireswept, whatever, or blah, blah, blah. The Fire-Scarred Plains or whatever in Akshi. I forget what the region was. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm just saying don't expect to leave Ghur anytime soon would be my bet.
Right.
Okay. So, by the way, I didn't say it yet, but if you're watching and you haven't hit that like button, hit like, especially if you're happy that the Anvil of Apotheosis is back, and you're also happy that I cannot say that word to save my life. So, yeah, hit that like button. Hitting buttons is fun. Do it. It's cool, and it helps other people find the show. All right, and then there's also some additional narrative content in there, the sort of Season of War narrative content that's in there as well, as a third part. All right. So, Tom. Yes, the Summons to War Battle Pack. Sorry. Which is a cool campaign that you can play through narratively. I won't dig into this too much, but I just want to say the right choice they made on this particular battle pack for the narrative campaign is the armies that you need to use are looser and actually fit probably what you might have, as opposed to some of the previous narrative campaigns that were in like Broken Realms, where it was wildly insane the specificity you had to have with the particular campaign battles. This is much more open, which is good. That's good. So I liked it. Okay, so good times overall. I mean, I'm like a solid 9 out of 10, honestly, on the narrative content of this book, like the narrative section.
It's great. It's great.
This is what I want to see these books contain. Do this. Like,
imagine
more
if
like,
we got, like,
do more of this thing.
Imagine if we got 2 of these per year.
Sure.
Okay. But like in this year, both of them were in Ghur.
Sure.
And then next year, both of them were in Akshi or whatever. We've spent a lot of time there, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it would just be wonderful. Like, I would love it.
Yeah, I agree. So, more of this thing, please. Thank you. All right, let's talk about the matched play stuff. I was really worried about this, Tom.
Were you?
I was. I legitimately was. If you go back to the show where they mentioned all the things that were going to come in this book, I even said, match play boo, I don't need match play stuff showing up in this book.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's the last thing we need is another, like
more splat books, more nonsense to keep track of for every time I build an army. How many books am I going to reference?
Right.
But then they came back around and completely redeemed themselves, because this is exactly how this should be done. Like, A+. This match play section gets a 10 out of 10 from me, Tom. I'm not even joking. And it earns it almost completely on this implementation within the first page.
Okay, so sell me on why this is the Golden Child.
Because it is its own battle pack. Meaning, let's break down what that means. If you open the core rules to the match play section, there is a base battle pack that you use to play matched play games. So a subsection, you can say we're playing a matched play game. Then you decide what battle pack you use. And that battle pack determines a bunch of other things. Okay? Namely, like what grand strategies and battle tactics are available, and all sorts of other nonsense. Okay? Including maybe even how first turn is determined, or who goes first, sorry. And everything else. Okay? And right now, at competitive play, tournament play, they use the GHB Battle Pack, as we probably will continue to do so at most tournaments for the foreseeable future, as that is clearly the battle pack that is most designed for sort of event-type competitive play.
Sure.
But what battle packs, when I originally saw them, I will openly admit I didn't get it. I didn't see the power that it allowed. Okay? And what it allows is for them to do this.
Yeah.
Okay? To say, here's an entire set of match play rules. But if you're going to a tournament and they're not using this battle pack, you ain't using this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
My only regret here in the end is I wish the Incarnates had been shoved into this battle pack.
Oh yeah, so that this is the Strife and Thondia battle pack, and if you're using the Strife and Thondia, you can use Incarnate. If you're using the one in the GHB, you cannot.
Right. Now I understand why they didn't, because they wanted to sell them to everybody, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Okay. But I would have been so much happier had they done that, because then I could just be like, okay, cool. All of this, if we're doing this battle pack, then we'll do this battle pack. If not, I can just take all of it and set it to the side. No brain space needs to be used. And no negative interaction of rules. Everything's fine and well controlled and kept within its own little compartmentalized space.
How do you like Hunters of the Heartlands just living in this space and not in the main thing?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, yes, exactly the point, right? So if you look here, you have your standard points limit pick. Guess what? It's exactly like we've become used to. It's the same numbers. There's nothing different here. Allied units and core battalions only, not War Scroll. Yes, Prime Monstrous Kill Pack and Hunters of the Heartlands, which this changed its name because it used to be like Alpha Beast Pack or whatever it is.
No, it's different. This is different than Alpha Beast Pack.
Sure.
Alpha Beast Pack lets you move.
At D6 inches, right? This brought over you're right. This is the same composition, but a different benefit. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Right. This is a bunch of monsters, but now all of them can Titanic duel.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
And so what I like here is, yes, it took over Hunters of the Heartlands and said, because Hunters is going to go away in T-3 months.
Yep. Or maybe. We don't know that, but probably.
Probably. We will get a new battle pack in the new GHB, and chances are it will not include this same battalion again. So I would call it highly likely. Okay.
Sure.
So yes, we get a new one that's effectively a new Alpha Beast Pack type of thing with, a multi-monster one.
Yep.
We get a new Hunters of the Heartlands, which is the same. That can't be
a bunch of anti-monster one. Yep.
Anti-monster. And then we get the new one, which is the Incarnate Masters of Ghur, which is the Incarnate in this battalion must be bonded to the hero in this battalion. In addition, the Incarnate in this battalion only reverts to its wild form once all of the other units in the battalion have been slain, which you can basically tie up to 3. You could have up to 3 other troops in there.
So what I don't understand
is that they think that's a benefit?
No. Is that it says 1-drop deployment. What happened to Unified?
Right, we didn't just use the word Unified.
Yeah. Right, which is what battalions get, or what battalions are called when they are 1-drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it is funny.
I saw that and I was like,
sure.
What's happening here?
But what I love about this battalion is, guess what? If you think this is super cool, and maybe this could be exploited because it is unified and contains all of your battle line and a hero and an incarnate, it is entirely possible you could build your whole army out of those 5 units. That might be stretching it a bit, but it's possible.
Well, it's a great 1,000-point army, right?
Sure.
There's your...
But even if there were to be exploitative things you could do with this, I don't care. It's in this battle pack. If you're not using this battle pack, you don't get this battalion.
Yes.
That's it. That's how it works. You have to pass the gate to get all of this stuff.
Right.
Fantastic. This is how I want the war rules to work, where we just have the GHB. Here's the standard set for events, for standard competitive events. We all agree. But we put more options out in the world like this, because I could see a tournament, like a 2-day tournament, that runs through these 5 things in order.
Right.
It could be done.
Yeah.
And that would be cool. Or if you and your friends want to play this over a couple weekends or something. Great. Awesome.
Yep.
You still get your match play game, but you get to experience a little bit of a narrative evolution as well. Yep. Wonderful. This is exactly the way this stuff should be implemented.
But what will most likely happen is that everybody will just always default to the GHB because that's what a majority of events use. And most of this stuff will never see the light of day.
Again, that's fine.
Sure.
I'm okay with that. Right? Because I want this to be useful to the people who are passionate about it and want to engage in this experience, to TOs who think it'd be cool to run a tournament like this, to players who want to have this experience. Not to all of us who now need to learn a whole bunch of extra crap that we have to keep in mind all the time and carry around extra books and double check other people's rules. And in an overtly complicated game, compartmentalization like this is key. And it's great.
Yeah.
So I cannot explain how happy I am about this. About
Sure.
the penny dropped for me with
Yeah.
this, right? As to what the power that battle packs would allow. All new grand strategies.
I love, by the way,
Well, not
mixing up
all
the
new.
grand.
Some of them are still using
Sure.
classics, but
I love the mixing up the grand strategies because like it's so stagnant right now.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I'm all wizards. Oh, I'm hold the line. Now, obviously, hold the line is still here, but to me, when I saw they mixed this up, and I was like, oh, please use these. Like, make some armies actually struggle to like figure out what their grand strategy is going to be.
Sure. No, it's cool. Um,
Well, actually, this one's technically worse because the all wizards now. This is all wizards and priests. But yes,
sure. Yes. Um,
I like that we can mix these up. Let me say it that way.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Like conceptually, this is great. Being able to change these, like, I often bag on army specific grand strategies and battle tactics.
Yep.
So people might get the mistaken idea that like I don't like the implementation of the concept of those things at all. That's not true. What I like is having a shared static common pool to draw from.
Well, a shared framework
for
and
everybody who's playing within
right.
a given structure, i.e. an event or whatever. Right. And that's what this provides. If you're going to run the Thondia battle pack, the Strife and Thondia battle pack, it would be great if we had no army grand strategies or battle tactics, because then we could just say, here's the set you use.
Right. Agreed.
Right. So this is the way.
This is the way indeed.
All right. And yes, new battle tactics. Again, these are literally things I'm not going to read through, but they're fun. It's cool. Like there's all the stuff you would expect here.
Well, and the Thondia terrain like are built into this, you know, like because and so yeah, it cracks me up.
Plays around a bunch with like incarnates and things like that. Exactly what you would expect. Which again, like I said, the only problem was they didn't shove the incarnates as a general rule of like the Thondia battle pack may use Ghur incarnates in it, and that's the place where you use them. Right? Yeah. Incarnates are clearly tied to a realm.
Yes.
So it would have been very easy for them to have just tied incarnates as a concept to the battle packs that are associated with that realm. And that would have future-proofed it as well. So if they come out with additional future Ghur incarnates,
they're tied to the realm. Yep.
They drop right in. All right?
Yep.
And so, good stuff. To me, this is just like, what battle packs let us do is finally live the great dream of the offspring. So, at any rate, these are all fun. And then let's talk about the battle plans here. The nature of these battle plans is interesting to me because they are a direct sequence of 5 linked battle plans.
They are.
Wherein you are meant to play from one to the other. In order.
Yep.
And I like the idea of doing this. Like, we have been looking for new battle plans, I'll be honest, in my Saturday group. Like, Tyler doing War Coda and introducing the new battle plans is the best thing that happened, because we had just kept using a bunch of GHP battle plans and stuff like that. Sure. And frankly, we've played them all a bunch, right?
Yep.
And so Tyler introduced War Coda. We played through all of those. We played through all of his multiple times now. They're great. Love them. Recommend them. Would recommend them. But suddenly having new match play battle plans that are meant to be done sequentially, we'll just do these over the coming weeks.
Yeah.
In our just basement game. Like, great. It's still a match play game. We like to play match play games. We like a little bit of a twist and keeping things shaken up. This is the perfect shake up. We'll just do them in order. There's these specifically add back the stealing the initiative sometimes, like here. In this one, it does, right? Because this doesn't use the first drop. This battle pack does not use the first drop. Gets to choose priority in this battle pack. And so But it is preserved here in the first battle plan. It also adds new scenario-based battle tactics based on what is going on here, right? Raiders and blockade, because one of you is the raider and one of you is trying to stop the raider, basically. Or you're raiding each other, I guess. You're trying to stop the opponent raiding.
And I love that they are introducing the idea that first turn is tied to battle pack and not to core, so that people who go one drop, that's not always if people have designed their armies right to take advantage of the timing. Some of these scenarios just simply say no, attacker goes first, and that's determined by a die roll.
Yep, sure, absolutely. So yes, these are more I don't know what's the word I want to use. I'm going to use the word imbalanced, but that really has such a negative connotation to it. They're asymmetric. A little more.
They're
wild.
Asymmetric.
Yeah.
Asymmetric.
There you go. That's a good word. They drift a little more asymmetric. They're a little more wild than the standard GHB, but I like them. They seem fun. That's what I'll say. I read through them and I was like, I am excited to play these. That's good.
Right. Well, and that's what you want in a list or in in an expansion. Mm-hmm. Is you want something that generates excitement and that there's going to be an interest to play.
Yep. I will say one of the things, I don't know if you noticed, Tom, but one of the things this first battle plan does with Clash in the Borderlands is in the Raiders section, because you get this ability called Raiders, is it brings in one of our favorite holy event rules, which is you get off the end of the table to get sort of points or whatever, but you have to actually remove the unit. You lose the unit, right? Which is something Steve has done many times in the holy events, and I always really enjoyed.
It's like a weird incentive structure because, do you remove your unit that you need to keep doing damage?
Right. Yeah. So I just enjoyed seeing that actually brought into a formal battle plan. I thought that was really, really cool. And then there's battle tactics that are related to this, of course. So yeah, that's Clash of the Borderlands. Pretty standard old deployment. Then from there, it leads into the invasion. So after the cross-border raids, it's now left to, now we get to a full-scale invasion, right? And if one player won their last battle and their opponent did not, then the player that won their last battle is the attacker and their opponent is the defender. If one player lost their last battle and their opponent achieved a draw, then that player that lost their last battle is the defender and their opponent is the attacker. Yep. In any other circumstances, you roll off and choose. Great. Cool. Again, so you can link these together in a very logical way. And even if you're not playing with the exact related stuff, we don't have, we both won our last game. Cool. Okay, we just roll off to determine who's attacker and defender now.
Yep.
Easy. Right. And then, as you said, yes, in this one, the invasion, the attacker must take the first turn in the first battle round. Right. So, yep. I like, I like this deployment, by the way. I like the box-to-box deployment. So that's cool. It's a 12-inch bubble that comes out from that corner to corner, as opposed to a 9-inch, which I find kind of annoying. Because
it's easy to move. It's easy to measure. You have a single point that you're measuring from 12 inches, rather than a bunch of points.
The stair steps. I hate the touching stair steps. That is the worst. The box-to-box, I don't mind, because you can pretty
speaking of that, the trap.
Okay. Sure.
You're talking about the stair steps that you hate.
Yes. So, well, the invasion itself, all of these, by the way, we should state, have different victory conditions as well. Mm-hmm. What it takes to achieve a major victory is often different. Yes. Than the normal game, which I also appreciate. You're trying to do
something as opposed to hold objectives.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because you'll notice there are no objectives on these missions. You're just trying to do other things. Right. In this case, you're trying to occupy and repel. And you can like your dominant warlord, the attacker gets to issue a command once for free. Just fun little stuff, right? And whereas the defender gets to play with their faction terrain, right?
Yep.
Because normally, like, the attacker doesn't get their faction terrain, basically. But if you don't have faction terrain, you just get to pick a terrain feature and pick one scenery rule from the Thondia Mistress terrain table to apply it to. So cool.
Which is awesome.
It is awesome. Because you get to choose the battleground. So just neat, interesting little benefits for both sides.
Yeah, I love this mixing up, this asymmetrical exploration of scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're like, oh, IDK, you don't get your boats anymore. I'm sorry.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. From the invasion, that leads into the prize. So word has reached the commanders that hidden amidst a set of ancient ruins is a powerful relic from the Age of Myth. Two armies race to be the one to secure it for themselves. This one has a wild deployment map, man. This is crazy. Yeah. And yet again, we have the whole who won last time to determine attacker, defender, or else roll-off situation. Once again, the attacker takes the first turn. Once again, we have no objectives, right? And instead, what we're trying to do is discover the relic. That's what we're trying to do. That's the point. So after deciding who has priority at the start of each battle round, the loser of the priority roll picks one relic site and rolls a die. If the score is higher than the number of the current battle round, that terrain feature is no longer a relic site. If the score is equal to or less than the number of the current battle round, the relic is hidden in that terrain feature and all of the terrain features are no longer relic sites. If there's only one relic site left, the relic is automatically hidden in that terrain feature. Right? And how do you win? You control the terrain feature that's the relic site, right? Because that means you get the magic gubbins. So, good. Cool. This one then leads into the trap. With the ancient relic in their possession, the victors are intent on returning to their homeland with their prize, unaware that they're heading into a trap. Yeah, boy, you want to talk about an unequal territory. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, this map is crazy, right?
Yep.
So, yep. The attacker gets a universal artifact of power for a hero in their army, like a bonus one, because that's your artifact. That's what you got, which is cool.
Yep. And you can give the artifact to a hero that already has an artifact.
Yes, you can. And so basically, like, the attacker chooses which long edge of the battlefield is the northern edge. The attacker sets up their army first, wholly within their territory. The attacker cannot set up units in reserve. Then the ambusher, which is the big blue territory, sets up each unit in their army either wholly within their territory and more than 12 inches away from all enemy units, or wholly within their territory, wholly on a terrain feature and more than 3 inches from all enemy units. And the ambusher decides who has the first turn. Yeah, and you can actually pass your artifact around, the relic around. Like, it can go to other people. If your hero dies near other heroes, which is cool, they can pick up the magic sword. Like, dude with the magic sword died, pick up the magic sword. It's great.
Well,
there'll be a lot of arcane tomes being passed around.
I have talked about KO struggling with scenarios.
Sure.
This is not one of them.
Oh, no, yeah, this is a great one for them. They're like...
You're like, we're going to go over to this side of the battle and come get us.
Yeah, a head full, boys.
This side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so the goal is to just, like, have a hero still in possession of the relic. Again, these are very unusual goals for how you determine victory, which is fun.
Yeah.
Like, you're not tracking a bunch of different victory points and stuff.
So for those that see this and get frustrated with, like, the inconsistency or the asymmetrical nature, I love it because what it does is, like, some armies have strengths that are not quantifiable.
Sure.
Right? Like the KO, they're just supreme mobility. Like, they just don't do well on objective holding scenarios. And so this mix of scenarios actually allows them to perform in a way that, like, they just don't. And like, yes, this scenario, they perform really well, but that doesn't mean they do it for the whole battle pack, right? And so I love that that they're willing to explore and push into other design spaces for some of these armies. And I would argue that, like, in my mind, that's ideal, because what I don't want and what I hate is when we quote unquote solve the meta.
Mm-hmm.
Where we look at the current set of scenarios and we go, okay, these are the top 3 armies. So if you want to podium, this is what you need to run. One of these. Or something that's a meta.
The strongest chance of. But yes,
your strongest chance of. Or a meta buster that looks at the meta and says, okay, well, in response to these things being strong, try to play one of these counter meta things to get up to top tables to then bust out of those.
Yep.
And I just love this, which is like, now we're playing a different game. Like, what you like, if you come with only those other scenarios in mind, these say, no, we're doing something different here.
Yeah.
Which I love. It's not good for statistics if you're trying to, like, quantify and narrow down performance, because, like, this is going to throw all of that into, wild, unpredictability. But I love the variation, because to me what it does is it ends up highlighting the performance of generals and not the performance of armies.
Sure. One of the things that, and then by the way, this all ends in cut off the head where you're trying to kill generals. That's the idea.
Right.
It's pretty straightforward. Again, we reintroduce some very fun things, like the defender gets faction terrain, and the opposing player can steal the relic, which is super fun, right?
Yep.
So if you have a hero go up and slay their enemy hero in melee, then they get to pick up the magic sword or the arcane tome or whatever.
Yep.
Just a lot of cool stuff. This uses the Tetris piece deployment that Tyler was the first person I saw use, that I really like. Extending out the extra square on what is the otherwise thing actually is really interesting. Like, that, it doesn't seem like it would be that big of a change, but man, does it change your feel during deployment.
Because everything's 12 inches. Like,
having the extra long piece go up. It can be either way.
Or 11.
Yeah. Like, Tyler ran them up the short side. They're doing it down the long side.
Sure.
But nonetheless, like, when you put somebody out on that limb, they feel way out there. And then your opponent now feels like they need to counter deploy against that or something.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how it works out.
Really.
I like the Tetris piece deployment. I hope they actually use this deployment model in the next GHB, because I do think that's a perfectly valid sort of deployment model.
Well, and it raises the question, like, are we going to move towards something like this in the next GHB?
No, I think they'll keep the GHB. Here's my answer to that. I'm glad you raised that point.
Yeah.
Because here is my answer to that. No. But
you think it'll stay like generic vanilla, hold points on the battlefield?
Because that's what it's meant to be. Okay. Yes. But this is the Warhammer they want us to play.
Yes.
Okay? To them, this is platonic Warhammer. Like, to the people who are in the studio, some part of them believes, like, we're all, like, if you're playing at a GHB standard tournament, this sounds harsher than it is, but I don't mean this. But, like, you're playing Warhammer wrong. Right? What they want it to be is this engaging, ongoing, story-driven thing where you're behind your army and you're doing stuff and it's evolving. And
sometimes
over time,
things are asymmetrical.
And sometimes things are asymmetrical, and it's just like, it's part of this larger engaging experience that goes beyond the 2.5, 3 hours you're sitting at the table for that game.
Right.
This is what this is the experience that they see as the ideal experience of Warhammer.
Okay? Yeah, I mean,
that doesn't mean that the GHB version is bad. Let's not be so simplistic with it, right? But I think this is the Warhammer that they see as the sort of platonic form. That's my answer.
Yeah, and what I would say is that, like, if somebody questions whether this is their platonic version, I think you can just look back to, like, the end times.
Sure.
Like, what these read like are the narrative series of encounters from the end times.
Yeah, I mean, this is not meant to be an every event. Sure.
Right. But what I'm saying is that we shouldn't be surprised they continue to do this.
Sure.
In multiple books. This is not just a one-off here.
Right.
Is if you look at the last 8 to 10 years, that's what they've just been doing.
But I do think this is the best form of it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't want to dismiss that at all. But I'm just pointing out that like this is not the exception. This is actually the norm.
Yeah.
If you look at every scenario battle plan that they've ever published, 90% of them sit in this style of play, of asymmetry and all that. And only the GHBs are the GHB rule books are the consistent symmetrical, like hypersymmetrical stuff.
Sure. But, which is fair, by the way. Like, I'm glad that stuff exists because it needs to. This isn't good for like standard competitive event Warhammer. It's just not. Okay.
Agreed.
Like, I'm not saying you couldn't do a fun competitive event around these battle plans. You certainly could.
Sure. But you need to publish them beforehand.
And there's a whole different set of expectations, and you have to understand that it's going to be kind of a wacky scenario, like situation, right?
Yep. Like, this would be great at like 3,000 points.
You're going to that event because that's the different experience you want.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
It's important to have the stock experience as well, which is what the GHB and those hopefully well-balanced more generic battle plans provide. They're good for events. They're easy to lift and shift for people to drop into events, for people to have in their common lexicon. That's good. Like, it's not bad at all. I want to really get my opinion completely chiseled in stone here, okay? Those are good and should always exist. Yeah. Am I being clear enough?
No, right? Certainly.
But like, I think it's also good to have rules like this that allow people to do different types of events, or have different experiences, or play the game in a different way, or run their event differently, whatever.
Yep.
This is great. Yep. And battle packs are honestly the method that in thinking about this, what occurred to me, Tom, is they haven't even begun to plumb what's possible with the battle pack technology.
Agreed.
We're like at the beginning of that journey. That's what this locked in my mind. That was the sort of second penny dropping, right? First off, I went, oh, I get it. These are super valuable. And then the second thing I realized was, oh, wait a minute. We can do a lot more here.
Yeah. Like, the tech here runs deep.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Right. Now, Studio, this is for you.
This is just for you, GW Studio. Thanks. First of all, thanks for making it so far in the show. I hope you all hit like.
Yes, continue. Exactly. Explore that design space.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
Like, let's see more of this, man. Like, again, when it comes down to it, I really mean this. My only problem with this book is the incarnate. The rules are overwrought. I don't like that he's just this generic thing that's floating out there that we're suddenly going to have to all know the rules for, and we'll just start showing up in armies. He may be too strong. He may not. I don't know. But even if he's not, we run a high risk of one of them in the future being too strong. Right? Like, this guy, this concept is super risky.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is good. There's part of that is good design, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they should be pushing the envelope in that sense.
Sure. I just wish that they had sectioned these and that they had the tech. It was right there, and they
lumped the incarnate in with the actual pack itself.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we are an errata away from that.
Yeah, sure.
But gets errated. It could just be add the line. Incarnates can when you play this battle pack, incarnates can be included.
Sure. Like, the problem is, I think they choked up on the swing because, or they checked their swing, I should say. That's right. That's the right thing to say. Because they were afraid that then people wouldn't care or be interested in the incarnates.
Right. Which I get, but as assistant ref assistant ref made a comment. Like, it feels like it was the marketer's discussion to pull this out of this pocket that they carved out. and make it general.
Yeah. When it feels like it should have just been here.
In the pocket. Like, leave it in the pocket.
In the narrative battle pack, you can use incarnates. In the Strife of Thondia battle pack, you can use incarnates. Like, move it from a top level rule to a sub level rule. That's it.
Right. And then it would have written itself and it would have governed itself.
Right.
Because what would happen is, like, if it's too strong of a thing, then TOs just don't use this battle pack.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is true. They could easily add a battle pack rule that excludes incarnates the same way. Like, we could see the GHB battle pack in this year say you cannot use incarnates. I doubt that, because exclusion.
That seems the opposite direction of where we're going.
Right. But here we are. Okay.
Yep.
Tom, would you like to see the next incarnate?
Sure. I disagree with you, but continue.
Okay. He's right there. He's this thing. It's this spider hand thing. That's the next incarnate. I was staring at the book prepping for this show. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I was just sitting here staring at it, and I realized, oh yeah, this is the guy we got. Right? Like, this is him. This is a different thing.
You don't think that that's the Dragon Claw, like a stylistic Dragon Claw?
No, I think that's the other one. I think he's a big hand. A big spider hand thing.
I don't know. Like, I could buy that if the stuff around the hand was like green energy or blue energy. I think that hand is part of the Ghur because of the fire, because the continuity between the energy. That's why I'm going to say that I think you're wrong.
Okay, that's fair. All I'm saying is that's the one that feels like it to me. He's that guy. But that's my guess. There you go. We'll see if I'm right. That's my big swing at the end for fun.
I think you're wrong. But I appreciate your trying.
Sure. I think it's just another incarnate back there in the background. I think he's in the background. Because his hand doesn't have any little fire in it.
And this guy's like roaring at him.
Yeah.
At the magic hand.
They're both.
He's like, I don't have hands. I hate you.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
That's
I don't buy that. I appreciate your attempt though. Yeah, and by the way, as somebody said, there are hands on the kit itself.
That's okay. That's fine.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Anything else we want to leave behind here with our final thoughts on Season of War Thondia?
So our desire to do the show had nothing to do with trying to sell anybody on this product. No,
it's obviously not. I don't care.
We don't care, but I love this product.
Yeah.
We're doing a local thing with, my kids and some friends and stuff like that, and it's going to be great. And if anybody has ever wanted to branch out, like, this is the perfect, like, bundle of things that have all come together. We have our own set of battle packs and stuff like that. We have the Emblem of Apotheosis. We have the Path to Glory rule specific for it. And you have a battle box now with terrain, with the perfect, board size for Path to Glory. It's like in toe. This is it. So I'm going to do it, and I would encourage you all to do it.
Yeah.
So for those that have been looking for the right motivation, to me, this whole thing, like, because of how this all bundles together, it was just it was too perfect for me not to go, you know what, we're doing this.
Right.
So.
Yep. Cool. All right. Very good. Well, there you go. That's Season of War Thondia. A good book with a bad terrain pack, I would argue, or a bad release strategy for the incarnate. But that's okay.
Bad release strategy. I will agree with that.
Yeah, because the terrain pack's not bad. You're right. It's a bad release strategy. That's what we should say.
Right. Because I think the box is okay. I do. I think it's a good value too. Hate to say it, 130 mil round base model. You know what that is? That's like $130.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that's the
fine. I
normal.
mean, he's just
Like
a
that's the
swirly
normal
twirly
kit.
dragon head, but I get it.
Yeah, like that's the normal kit price you're looking at. So, to get a terrain, 8 pieces of terrain or however much, or 4 solid, 5, whatever it is, 6, and then 2 boards, which they value clearly at $60, it's a good deal.
All right. Well,
So,
we'll leave that to the audience to decide. But the book, in my opinion, is an absolute home run. Like, this is how I want to see these things done.
yeah,
It's great. My only slight issue is the incarnate stuff for reasons we talked about. But overall, great job. Good. Like, the book success continues. We're 3.0 has brought good books, and this is one of them. You missed it, Paul. I'm arguing this is not his hand. I'm arguing this is a big spider incarnate thing back here. That's what I'm saying. I'm taking a swing. That's what I say. Everybody says his claw. I disagree. I think it's a thing. But either way, give it a like. Give it a like if you think I'm a lunatic, and that's obviously his claw. Subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget, we've got a Patreon focused on helping you with your hobby, focused on review and feedback. That's linked down below if you want to support the channel. But thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate you watching so much. Hope you enjoyed this. Tom, thanks, brother. Much appreciated as always. We will be back, of course. Thank you so much for watching. As always, we'll see you next Wednesday.